Naomi Schwartz. Welcome to the studio of the Corning Museum of Glass. I'm proud today to present to you the second installment in our Foundations video series. Foundations aims to teach the basics of glassworking techniques. Emilio Santini joins us today. Emilio will present to you techniques of flameworking that will teach you both hollowware and solid work. He will show you exercises that he learned as a young boy that will lay a solid foundation for you as a flameworker.
I started blowing glass when I was 11, 3 months during summer, with my uncle in Murano. And then when I was 16, I started doing lamp working with my father. And I got stuck on it because my father had a small studio. And then, unfortunately, my father had a heart attack, and I had to take over the family business. 1 year passed, my father recuperated, and then little by little I started loving glass more and more. As a material, I loved the way that I could manipulate it. So it's very important to have the right kind of flame when you do lamp working. In this case, we are going to use the tubing, and the kind of flame that I'm going to use for tubing and that you have to use is a very soft flame, bushier, like this, and not a very, very hard and strong flame. Don't use a blasting flame with a lot of oxygen and very, very strong. Go in the flame, and you see, the flame, when it is very, very sharp and powerful, heats up only a very small section, only the central section. So the first drawback is that you're not able to heat up the entire gather. Vice versa, if you have a bushier one, it's much wider. So first advantage, it's a wider flame. Second advantage is this, is that if you have again this kind of flame, and by accident or any reason you slow down the turning, you create a hot spot. And what's a hot spot? It's a one section of the tubing. It's hotter than the rest. So when you blow with the hot spot, the bubble is going to be off-center. And we're going to end up with the off-center bubble. So to avoid that, use a bushier flame. So this is the way to do it properly, with the right flame in the right position, about 4 or 5 inches away from the tip, approaching the flame from underneath. Always approach the flame from under, not from the top, because if you do it from underneath, you see where the flame is touched. If you do it from the top, you're just guessing. So from underneath, come up, stay in the center, rotate, and you can see from the color, it's all uniform, there is no hot spot in there. And so when you stretch, hypothetically, the point is centered. It's very important that your hands are set up the right way. Let's start with my left hand. My left hand, since I'm right-handed, my left hand goes on the top, my right hand goes on the bottom. If you're left-handed, it's the opposite. Your right hand goes on the top, your left hand goes on the bottom. Reason being is this, it's much easier the left hand goes on the top because it's much easier to rotate uniformly when it's on the top. And look at that, look what happens if you put it on the bottom. It's almost impossible to rotate and keep it on the same spot. And the right hand is underneath because whenever you have to blow, it will facilitate the movement to go into your mouth. Vice versa, you would have to do this, or since this is very awkward and rotating at the same time, you would have to switch it underneath while the center part is hot and putting everything out of center. So let's try to do it. Let's go in the flame. Left hand is rotating in one direction away from me. The right hand is just a support at the beginning, and you will notice that I start rotating with my right hand. When the center that is melted is going to become soft. If I don't rotate with my right hand, When it's soft, this is what is going to happen. It's going to twist all the way around. So, and I want to avoid that. So let me fix this and show you the proper way. So let's try to pull a point from a beginner's standpoint of view. 30 years ago, I used to pull a point like this. My points ended up like this. I didn't stay long enough in the flame, so I didn't have enough glass. I stretched it all crooked. And I ended up having to fix them all the time. So how did I do that? I heated up just this part here of the glass from under the flame. With the part below the shoulder, and adjust it. Or horizontally or vertically. It makes no difference. Let's do the proper way of pulling point. Right hand is just a support. Left hand rotating, one direction. When everything gets soft, start using your right hand as well. At this point, when everything gets hot, stay there another 5 to 10 seconds and start counting. There you are, 5 seconds. You see how thick it is here? The molten part, and now start pulling. So I have enough glass to have my point thick enough so it doesn't break when I'm going to adjust it. Hold it there for a few seconds and cut it off. So what are we going to do with all those points that we pulled? Some of them are awfully off center. We're going to make Christmas ornaments. So we'll use them and learn to blow properly and have something that is utilitarian that you can use for yourself or sell it. For cutting my points, I don't usually use the hard tool. I use a little piece of carborundium. It's basically a grinding tool that you can buy at the Ace Hardware for a few bucks. It works the same way as this, but it's much easier to use on very thin pieces. So scratch it, scratch away from you, and tuck, breaks off. And remember to fire polish it on the side of the flame, very, very gently. Don't go inside the flame, otherwise you close the hole. This is fire polished, so if you have to cap it while you're turning, or when you put it in your mouth, you don't cut yourself. And you always have to have it open, because suppose you don't have it open, everything is closed, you forgot to open it, you go back in the flame, start heating your central gather, and the gases start to expand inside, and this is what happened. So you don't want that to happen. That's why you always have to have one end open. So remember to do that. To make Christmas ornaments and blow the bubble and use them for the purpose, we need to learn to blow. So we're going to do it without the flame, without heating up the gather of glass. So you're going to go in the flame, get it hot, go into your mouth and start blowing and rotating back and forth while you're blowing, and blowing very, very slowly. Very, very slowly. Why do you blow very slowly? Because you have the time to readjust. Glass blowing is the art of readjustment. You're always continuously readjusting your glass. So let's go in the flame, in the center of the flame. Starts rotating, same position, upper-handed, underhanded, and rotate. Left, a bit to the right. It's getting hot. And you see that the bubble is coming off center. You see one part is more out than the other one, off center. You rotate while the bubble is hot. You rotate the part that is coming out faster on the top of the bubble, and let the gravity work for you and pull it down and recenter it, and then start blowing again. So that's why when I'm blowing, I'm always rotating, then stopping, rotating and stopping. More than stopping is almost an hesitation. And there you are. Okay? That's how you center your bubble. Now after we center our bubble, we're going to heat up this part here, the part that is closed. You see a switched hand. And draw it down and stretch it so to recenter it. So lower the flame. There you are. And stretch it very, very gently. Maybe a little blow. Okay. Hold it there until it solidifies. Switch to the other hand. Now before we close this side and create a loop, we're going to open a little hole. Very, very sharp flame and blow very hard, even before you go in the flame. A little hole. Flame wider again, and then melt down the end, so the hole will prevent the vacuum or low pressure. Stretch down, up, and push in to the sphere, and there you are. That's how you can use your first bubbles, so there is no need to throw them away. It's clear, but it can be sandblasted, it can be painted, and you can apply dots of color. So even when you're trying to make the first little object, you still should try to apply your creativity to the minimal technique that you have, but do not get stuck on those first steps. The problem with many students is that they learn very few steps and then they think that they can run. That's why they fall down and they never go farther than where they are. If you have a huge creativity but you don't have the technique, there is no way that you can transfer your images that are in your mind or on your paper into glass. The tools that I'm using are all derived from glass blowing. I use the diamond shears, jacks, Perfume, or with graphite, not with wood, a paddle, shears, a knife, a flaring tool, a grabbing tool, and the cutting tools, my two cutting tools. Those are the tools with which I can make almost everything. The diamond shear gives you the advantage of cutting the tubing where you want and breaking it off and obtaining a perfect round hole. With your left hand upper handed, and the right hand, instead of the hand itself, is going to have the diamond shears on, and you're going to hold it on the diamond shears and learn to rotate back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. The action that we're going to do is this. After the tube gets hot, you're going to slide it into the hot section and very, very slowly but uniformly press it down and close it down to the diameter that you want to reach, and rotate back and forth until it solidifies. Then when it's completely solid, you press down like if you were cutting, like this, 1, 2, 3, come out and hit it, and the piece will come off, leaving a perfect round hole. Let's try to do it hot. Diamond shears. The glass is getting hot. Keep the diamond shears in the middle so it balances, back and forth. Go down, lean it on the floor so it doesn't mess up. Close it down to the diameter that you want. Keep it there, no more. And keep rotating back and forth until it solidifies. It's solid, so tack, 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 and it breaks off. And you end up with a perfect little hole there. Instead of cutting them this long, you can cut them much shorter, like this. And the only thing the extra that you have to do is just fire polish it one side, fire polish the other side. This is a hollow bead with a perfectly center hole. And to make it things more inviting and sellable, we're gonna put some color on it. So we're gonna start making some dots. I have a color rod. I'm gonna heat up. First I preheat the tubing, and then just the end of the color rod go in the flame, out, pull the stringer through the flame, and it breaks off into a dot. That's how you make dots on a bead. You can leave the dots sticking out, or you can melt them even further in. You see that I'm just caressing the glass with the flame. I'm not going all the way into the flame, otherwise I would melt the clear part all the way down. There you are. And you have your little bead with dots. First thing we're going to do with SolidWorks, just a basic thing, is to learn how to pull a stringer. So we've got a color rod of glass, clear one. We're going to attach the clear at the end of the color one. And this is all Pyrex color. Roll it on the top of the torch to center it. Let it cool down. Now I'm going to reheat about a couple inches in the flame. Left and right, rotate, left and right, rotate, left and right, rotate, left and right, until it gets all soft. See, it's getting color, means it's getting softer. When it starts sagging down, it's almost ready to go. Come out of the flame, start stretching slowly at the beginning, and while it's hardening, you stretch harder and harder and harder and harder. Keep the tension through it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there you are. And it's almost uniform thickness. Second thing we're gonna do, learn how to make a twisty. I have two different color rods. I'm gonna alternate one in front of each other while I'm preheating them. And again, I'm gonna heat up about a couple inches. So let's do it. Left and right, left and right, left and right. So one section of the rod is gonna get hot. When they start moving, getting soft, that's the right moment to put them on top of each other. There you are. Now press this down, and now left and right, left and right, left and right, left and right, alternating the two colors. Now both hands on the top. Now when I come out of the flame, I'm going to rotate one hand one direction, the other on the other direction, then start stretching slowly, gently. Let's see. And stretching very, very gently. Now what am I going to do with this? I can use it as a Christmas icicle, but before I do that, I would have to taper the object. So I'm going to heat up this section here, left and right, rotating. When it starts getting color, out of the flame and stretch and rotating gently. Back in the flame and stretch, rotate again. And you have your icicle. Now to finish it, we're going to create a loop up there, switch hands. Up or down. Tweezers. Sometimes there are every teacher or bad teacher that will teach you the wrong thing, and the practice will take you nowhere. So it's very important to have the right teacher and have a strong will that will make you practice. A very, very strong technique with the creativity joined together. Just go on a parallel track and just keep moving and moving and moving. Next thing, we're going to make a marble. That's another basic object for lamp working. And there are two ways of doing it. I'm going to show you very quickly both ways. First one is out of a tubing. Take a tubing of about 12 millimeters, 10, 12 millimeters diameter, medium wall. I pre-prepare two small sections of color rods that I slide in, like that. Keep it at an angle and go in the flame. I pre-closed one end of the tube. I melt it down, grab my Ponti rod, and I touch it on it. And now slowly from right to left, I melt the color with the clear together. Basically, I'm shrinking down the tubing around the color. There you are. Now I'm going to melt it down again and push it in. Slowly, slowly, while I'm rotating. I'm rotating only my right hand, one direction. The left hand goes back and forth. And then push it in. And we're going to make a marble without a marble maker. I want you to learn to make a sphere without the use of the marble maker. It's a very good skill to learn. Prepare a Ponti, just heat up the end of a rod, roll it down, tapering it. Let's cool the marble down. A Ponti is a cold connection, means that a cold joint means that one object is cooler than the other one. In this case, the marble is cooler than the Ponti. Put them together, push and then pull out a little bit, keep rotating, switch hands, cut off the other side. Sharper flame. If you have too much material and there are too many bubbles there, no problem, heat it up and peel it out while you're rotating. And back to into the flame at the slight angle, and there we are, we have our marble. This is the other way to make a marble. I'm going to preheat about 1.5 1.25 inches of color and clear. Apply the color rod on top of the clear. Cut it off with the flame or with the diamond shears. And grab another clear glass rod, preheat it, apply it on the top of the color as well. Press it down, a little bit more flame. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to melt it. Left and right, heating up the clear side of the glass. Now even the center, all the way around. And I'll start rotating the hands in a different angle, rotating and push it in, rotating, push it in, rotating, push it in. Now rotating at the same rate and direction. Cut one off while it is rotating. And again, making the marble without a marble maker. Now I'm going to show you the first fish that my father ever taught me how to make. but it was a very, very good practice because you need to learn how to apply different pieces of glass and to overlap them. So just melt 2 rods of glass together and make a gather of glass, then flat, 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 flat. Heat up one end, grab it and stretch it, and then so you learn to rotate and then make the tail. Now this movement of overlapping and stretching is very, very important. Not only will you learn to make wings, fins, but it's a very good movement to apply glass on one object, learning how to make straight, flat pieces of glass out of a round one. I was a kid, I didn't want to learn to make complicated objects, but my father was the boss. See if it stands. It does. Then the secret tool, the clothespin. Eyes. Knife. And there you are. And you used to shut off the 2 different positions for the price of 1, down or up. So that was my father's technique, how to sell those. So next thing that we're going to do is small perfume bottles. In this case we're going to use heavy wall tubing. Using heavy wall tubing will make our life a little bit easier. It's easier to pull the point. It's easier to keep it center. So I'm going to heat up the end of the tube and pull a point, showing you how to do it at the end of the tube. Grab the rod, create a cross with it, go back in the flame, come out and stretch slowly. Come out and stretch it. We're going to create a constriction there and stretch it a little bit and form a little neck. So smaller flame, getting hot just below the shoulder. I created a constriction, then gently I can stretch. And I got my first neck. Let it cool down. Now I'm going to blow very, very gently and push in gently. Lower the flame and cut the bottom off. I would advise you for the first few perfume bottles that you're going to make to use heavy wall. It's much, much easier. Push in and create what we call the kick paddle. Reheat it. See if it stands right. And this is the first primordial bottle, the first perfume bottle that you can make. Now we have our own, the bottle we made earlier. We're gonna scratch it, putting a lot of pressure, breaking it off. Take the grabber, put inside your grabber, center it while you're rotating. You're holding the neck and adjusting it, tighten it, grabbing the recenter it, flaring tool. Preheat it, a little bit of wax, always wax your tool. I'm recentering it. Rotate on the side. going with the tool. It's a little bit off. There we are. More in the flame and open it. And with the side of the tool, just flatten it. And you open your bottle. Now for it, we can make a very small stopper very quickly. Nice and hot. Come out. Stretch. Cut it off with the flame. Now is the moment to give different shape to the end of the stopper. It can be round, you can flatten it, you can squeeze it and make it square, whatever you want to do. It's up to your creativity. Let's leave it round, that is the easiest one. Let it cool down. Grab it. Melt it. I always come back here with pleasure to teach at Corning Studio because it's a unique opportunity that is given to any glass blower or glass lover, because it's directly connected to the museum, and it's the only place in the world where you have the opportunity to unite the studying of glass from an historic point of view with the technique. And I particularly do it, try to get my student involved with the museum and do a little bit of research how the glass was made at the very beginning of lamp working, all the way down to here, and import the old techniques and start and trying to reinsert them into modern day glass making. Why lamp working instead of furnace work? Because my father had a little furnace inside his workshop, and we were making, I was helping him making furnace work pieces for some glass artists like Martinuzzi, a little bit, couple pieces for other artists too, and they were firing the furnace, my father and my uncle, and I was helping them once a month, twice, maybe 3 times a month. So that's all the activity that there was as a furnace work. But being a young man that was trying to make money to take girlfriends out for pizza, there was much more remuneration in doing lamp work pieces instead of furnace working, because I could manage my schedule and go to the beach. So I used to start working at 6 in the morning until 1, and then at 1 take off, take the boat and go and windsurfing at the beach with girls, but just windsurfing.